Hello and welcome to the WinBeta podcast for the week of May 22nd, 2015. We don't have any palindromes in this week's calendar. Sorry about that. This week, as every week, we're going to be talking about the latest and greatest Microsoft and Windows related news. Just about every week now we have build related news, so we're going to have that. We also have the Xbox Windows 10 timeline, big news about Asus, Google ads on Windows devices, Here Maps, and Microsoft's potential purchasing of at least part of it, Snapchat rumors, upgrade paths to Windows 10, and all-around banter and fun galore. So I am one of your hosts, Sean Michael, and I am here also with the other host, Zach Bowden. Say hello, Zach.
Hello, everyone.
And yeah, so we're just going to talk about the news this week, have lots of fun doing that. We were going to be in HD. I had a technical slip, so we're in 720 HD, not 1080. Sorry, guys.
Instead of full HD, we're standard HD today.
Yeah, standard HD, which to me is just lying at some point, but whatever. But yeah, Windows news this week. It's kind of a big news week. Lots of little stories. I wouldn't say there's any massive individual stories.
Yes.
But I guess the first things first, we have the timeline for Xbox Windows 10, which I'm going to sum up just by reading. I'm going to read to you every piece of news that we have about this. Phil Spencer tweeted, "It will be post-summer." So that's it, everyone. You can go home. That's the end of the podcast.
Before we continue, Sean, I have a good question. Where did the stories bit go in the OneNote?
Where did the stories bit go in one? I have no idea.
I haven't got them no more, so I can't actually see what stories we've got.
Well, I am very sorry.
This podcast is all you this week, Sean.
Sweet. I will be reading lots of things. It's the first tab for me.
It's not there for me. Oh dear. I've got the special secret one, and I've got viewership.
I don't know what to tell you.
Right. So. Right, okay.
I'll try to do something while I'm figuring this out here. So yeah, so post-summer is all that we have. And so that's the only details that we've really been given. Post-summer is not very specific. It's just after summer, which, as I've always pointed out, ends in September, not in August. So this could be October, could be November, December. I doubt it's going to be next year, though technically speaking, they've left the door open for that. I don't really think Xbox needs Windows 10 as much as mobile and desktops and tablets. Do you?
Well, Windows 10 will enable the Universal App Platform on Xbox, so I kind of think it does.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see like the apps open up and that sort of thing. I don't think it's as big of a selling point right away. I would much rather them have desktops early and Xbox a little bit later than wait to release them like all at once.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But I guess some things, like the USA Today app that they demonstrated, it'll be nice when some of those apps become universal. And the Xbox one's a different demographic. It's all about getting people on the platform and the Windows 10 platform as a whole. And so you're going to have some users where their only Microsoft device is an Xbox, because as loyal as you could be to maybe Linux or Apple, they don't sell game consoles. So you're probably going to have a PlayStation or an Xbox, and some of those people are going to have Xboxes. So their only exposure to Windows 10 might be the Xbox. So it is important. I don't think it's quite as important, but yeah, it's going to be post-summer. That's basically all we have.
Yeah. I can't wait for it, because it will most likely be pushed out through the current preview program, which I'm actually part of, so I should get it. I don't know if it'll be an insider. I mean, I imagine it might be an insider thing, but I guess.
Well, they do previews now quite a bit for Xbox stuff.
Yeah, they do. Every month there's a new preview. What?
Like you guys got, I think, digital tuners before the rest of us and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a pretty spiffing little device you got there, spiffy little device. What do you have there, Zach?
I have a Surface 3.
Oh, we might talk about that a little bit later.
Right. Oh. All right, I found the stories, but it's an older version. The one that's not updating no more. Oh well.
Oh well, we'll see. So that's all we got for Windows 10 for Xbox. Basically, like I said, it's really just Phil's little tweet about that from Major Nelson.
But there's still Windows 10 news to talk about, Sean.
There's lots of Windows 10 because Windows 10 covers everything from the Microsoft band, hopefully, to the Surface Hub. So there's always Windows 10 news to talk about.
So good news for insiders, because this week Insiders got a new build, 10,122 or 10122, depending on how you say the numbers. This build is a vast improvement over the last public preview build, which was, I believe, 10,074. So this new build came with, I wouldn't say new features, but improved stuff, I guess, because we're at a point now in the Windows, and they've said this themselves now, Microsoft, we're at a point in the Windows 10 development cycle in which you're not going to be seeing any dramatic new features. From this point onwards, you're going to see tweaks and improvements to what they already have. So this build is pretty much all that is. I guess with Edge it's a bit different though, because Edge is they're still adding stuff to Edge. So in Spartan or Edge in this build, Microsoft finally introduced a new tab UI, which is like MSN.com in the sense that below your recent tabs, your recent or your most common tabs, you get news stories such and weather and whatnot. So it takes it all from MSN.com, so if your homepage has been MSN.com and you move over to this new tab experience, you're not going to notice anything different. Not only that, there was an AMD issue with this build in which if you had an AMD GPU, Spartan wouldn't work. That has been fixed as of about an hour ago, so if you're on build 10,074 and want to upgrade now as an AMD user, you can absolutely do so.
Except for you, right, Zach?
Except for me, because I have to stream every week, so I'm still on Windows 8.1. There's an improved start experience. There, a few things were moved around. The full screen button was removed from the start and placed into the settings app. The settings app got an update in itself. The UI adjusted slightly. Cortana was improved. You now get a baby Cortana when you say "Hey Cortana." Nobody's devices wake up. Well, I mean, the device Cortana does. It should. For me, it doesn't work. When I say "Hey Cortana," Cortana does not listen to me. She pops up and she just doesn't listen. So. But yes, that will eventually be a thing. And Cortana is also using the dark mode. And Gabe Ull says the builder is overall more stable, which kind of contradicts what I've seen on Twitter. Because on Twitter, I see people saying the build doesn't work. I need to sneeze. I'm gonna try and hold it off. The build doesn't work. The start menu crashes frequently, apps don't work, upgrading issues with the Surface 3. I can't upgrade to Windows 10 on this Surface 3 because the GPU, not the GPU, the same thing, the graphics driver would just not install. Surface Pro 3 users were having issues upgrading altogether, just you couldn't get there. So yes, apparently there's a number of issues with this build, but if you can upgrade to it, and it's not a Surface 3, the build works fine apparently, so...
that's what they say.
That's what they say, so keep that in mind. But yes, overall build 10,122 seems like an okay release. Build 10,125 was screenshots leaked earlier, and they are, I should make full screen, they are nothing really new other than the fact that there's a couple of new icons on the taskbar. The File Explorer icon got updated, as did the folders, something many people have been asking for, I guess, and that's finally making it into the WinMain and Impressive branches. But yes, apart from that, build 10,125, which isn't public, and I don't believe it will go public, could do, because it's an FBA Impressive build that they've leaked screenshots from, but since we got 10,122 fairly recently, I wouldn't expect another build for at least a week.
I have a question for you, Zach.
Go ahead.
What are you going to do as these builds get less new features and more just stability improvements? How are you going to make these videos? What is 20 minutes of our podcast going to be?
This is a good question. I tweeted this the other day. I actually want suggestions, because I mean, I do the videos for the audience, right? And I guess it's up to the audience what I do.
That's so kind. He does this for you.
I could just read poetry for 20 minutes. Or we could do flashback builds. Flashback to build.
Like I said, Throwback Thursday builds. This is Windows 8.1 build, 8,000 something rather.
Yeah. We could do build features, like showing off builds you've never seen before from the older versions of Windows. Mm-hmm. Or we could do hypothetical videos in which we talk about what we want to see in the future. Could do many things.
Get slideshows of like concept art from people.
Or what we could do is do the normal videos just talk about what's new. So build 10,126 or build 10,100. Yes, build 10,126. The taskbar is 1 pixel bigger. And that's it. The build no longer hangs when you touch a certain area of it. That sounded terrible. This podcast ability is provided by build 10.
Yeah, we lagged a little, but I think it's caught up.
Yeah.
But yeah. Nobody stop messaging Zach on Skype. We're going to get him a different Skype name just for the podcast.
Right, yes, okay.
So I think that these builds are just going to be mostly just stability improvements and that sort of thing at a certain point. And so we'll see. Oh, there's the lag again. Hello.
Are we really lagging? Is this a serious thing?
Only a little. It's back now. I just don't think you can do anything on your computer.
There's nothing else I can do.
Use that Surface 3, Zach. Just everything except for the podcast.
I don't even have OneNote open on the PC. It's on here. That's why I've got it in my hands. What is going on?
Maybe next week we'll be on Twitch. Who knows? Anyway, so yeah. Any other build stuff for either that build or another one?
No, that's the only info I have on build 10,125. And that's I've covered 10,122. Pretty much, there's nothing else interesting really from it.
Okay.
So yes, that's a great thing. Yeah. So if you're an insider, I recommend you update to that build, unless you want a Surface 3, which don't do that.
Yeah, I tried upgrading to a preview build, but it was a preview mobile build, which are way less stable than the preview desktop builds.
The mobile builds are further behind than the desktop build. That's
and I just, it depends what device you have. It was my second phone. It's it's the one I did the review of, the 640. And I'm just gonna, I use it for test stuff. I tried a new build. It didn't work. I restored it. I don't care because the personal info on there is not exclusive to that device. So some of these builds are pretty fun to try out, that sort of thing. It's kind of, I was kind of excited watching the gears not line up for some reason. The loading screen. Like, when are they going to fix that? They don't line up.
It's a feature.
It's not but in any event, preview builds are fun. And if it's not your main device, go nuts. People ask us that all the time. Should I try this preview build? Is it worth this? I saw one guy who said he was going to switch from Windows 10 or Windows because of a preview build, which I think is a very poor decision. But yeah, it's pretty fun to try these out. So it's cool to see all these features come through.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get more Spartan stuff. As it's less Windows 10 news, it's more in this build Edge has X, Y, and Z as opposed to, just the pixel differences.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well, yeah, then moving on. Asus is in the headlines this week a bit in relation to Microsoft news. The Asus chairman, this is just our headline, says, thinks Windows isn't the right operating system for smartphones. I do not agree with the Asus chairman.
Ooh, but Sean doesn't agree.
Yeah, you get the band hammer from Sean. Actually, my girlfriend has an Asus tablet, and it's lovely. But the other products, some of them, we'll see. But from the opinion perspective, quote-wise, he says, the advantage of Windows is productivity and entertainment at the same time. The advantage of Windows Phone is not that much when compared to iOS and Android, frankly speaking, which to me is pretty much nothing talk, because it gives you nothing substantial that he's actually saying is wrong with Windows Phone. He's just saying, oh, well, the advantage of productivity and entertainment is in Windows devices like tablets and computers, which they obviously make, so they're going to be big fans of. But you don't get that in phone? What, phones don't have YouTube? I mean, the YouTube app's terrible sometimes, but it's there. Maybe that's the best example. That's because Google keeps changing their APIs.
On purpose.
I watch entertainment stuff on my Windows device all the time. I really have no idea what he's really saying here, other than just kind of bashing a platform that they're not really on. I'm going to say the best comment from Pedal Harder says, oh no, not Asus, that huge dominant phone maker. Oh yeah, didn't know they ever made a phone, let alone ever saw one. So I don't know. Do you really think Asus is the best judge of what a mobile device should be? And they don't even really make that many mobile devices.
No, I don't. I think they're just being silly.
Trolls. They're like the comments on YouTube. Except you guys. We love our followers.
Yes, our followers are the best followers in the world.
I just don't get it. I just don't understand like what you would get out of saying, we make lots of Microsoft stuff, so we're gonna like bash this new platform that they're working on. I have news for folks. I'll try not to say grumpy because we have Snapchat later in this, and so I need to stay calm. Windows 10 Mobile is not going anywhere. I honestly don't think they are ever going to cut support, no matter how low the market share was, because once they make the effort to make the code universal and the universal app platform happen, and people, even if only a few people import apps, there's no reason to cut support. Like, it doesn't make any sense, because at a certain point, the code is majorly similar to small tablets anyway, which they're not going to stop making. So I would say they're never going to cut support for Windows 10 Mobile. Do you agree with that, or do you think I'm crazy?
I don't see it happening anytime soon, at least.
I mean, if they're not cutting it now, why would they cut it later? Like, the market share is only going to go up.
They're still trying. There's a point in which a company will give up if everything they've done just isn't working.
Well, but that's if it's, like, independent. Like, I could understand if Windows was over here and Windows Phone was over here. But now, unlike the gears on the loading screen, they're together.
Well, I mean, Apple's slowly killing the iPod, aren't they? As in, like, sure, they're not an independent company, but when was the last time they released an iPod?
They stopped making the iPod Classic, if that's the example you're going.
No, but I mean, the iPod brand in itself, when was the last time they were... I mean, other than the iPod 5, Touch 5, I think that was the most recent one.
Well, I think at a certain point, what was the full name? They weren't called iTouches, whatever the actual name. Is that the name?
No, iPod Touch.
Yeah, there we go. The iPod Touches. I think there was a point where iPhones are so thin and there wasn't an advantage to having an iPod Touch, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that's quite the same because, like I said, isn't the code for small tablets going to be pretty similar to the code for like a Windows Phone?
Yes, the small tablet code will be pretty much identical to the phone code, and so they're not going to. People seem to be getting confused with the idea of a Windows 10 small tablet and a Windows 10 tablet.
Yes, please clarify.
A small tablet is 7 inches and below, whereas a normal tablet is 7 inches or 8 inches and above. So 7.99 inches would be for small tablets.
Okay.
And then 8 inches and above will be running full-blown Windows, maybe running with the desktop continuum UI thing, but below that will be the Windows Phone UI with no desktop and stuff. And people have been confused by this, and I just want to clarify how that's going to work.
So what apps does a Windows small tablet run?
All the Windows Phone apps.
So a Windows small tablet runs Windows Phone apps.
Yes.
And a Windows large tablet runs Windows tablet and desktop apps.
The universal app platform thing is supposed to blur this line in the sense that it's the same app on phone and PC, which means anything in between has the same app as well.
Right.
But if you're running a legacy app, such as, I don't know, the Twitter Windows Phone app, that will run only on the small tablets, and the desktop version will run on the larger tablets.
But you see what I mean when I say if they have the code already there, it doesn't really save them any effort to not update it. Like, if they're going to keep having Windows small tablets, why would they stop supporting Windows Phone when it's the same code? They might make less hardware in the future, but it's still going to be there.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's what people like. They act like it's going to... I mean, it might fail. It might not make them lots of money. They might really switch Lumia to only budget devices at one point and just never make a flagship. But the code is still going to be there.
The difference is, though, you've got to remember that the code between the Windows 10 for phones and the actual, I mean, like the operating system code like itself, and the code between the desktop Windows 10 are actually quite different. They may be claiming that they're very similar, but they're not. They are very different in code.
So phone is similar to small tablet, but different than desktop.
Yes, so they could absolutely kill off phone and small tablet and continue with the desktop. Although I don't think they would.
But then they'd be cutting out phones and small tablets, which I just don't see them cutting out two things.
If phones aren't selling, small tablets won't be selling.
Yeah, I guess. Confusing. I don't know how many people have 7-inch tablets.
And we don't have time. We don't have a time machine, so well, I do, but
Doctor Who, he's right here.
Yeah, it doesn't actually work, so we can't actually go and see. I mean, it would be great, and then just come back. Next week's podcast. Here's how Windows will be doing in 10 years.
Anyway, like I said, I gotta save my anger. Actually, Snapchat, I'm actually kind of happy about the news, even though I don't use it. But yeah, so that's that about Asus. I don't really care about that opinion. I get passionate about it, but I think it's wrong, I guess would be the best way to phrase it.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, that's a thing. Moving on.
Guess what Google's doing?
Oh, more things to make me grumpy?
Yes.
Yes, I love it.
Well, they haven't actually announced it, but many developers, many Windows Phone developers have been reporting significant drops in revenue on their Windows Phone apps when using Google AdMob. I think it's AdMob, yes. Someone on Twitter who's a developer by the username @ANHNGT, so if you want to go and follow them if you wish, they've said the fill rate for the AdMob has dropped down 73%.
That's high.
That is very high. Google is evil, he says at the end. So yes, this isn't just the only developer. Lots of Windows Phone developers have been claiming the same things. Some developers started reporting on May 7th that as much as a 50% drop in revenue has, as fill rates dropped from 99% to 7%. So that's an almost 100% difference. That is terrible. And why this is happening, nobody knows.
Well, nobody. I mean, nobody's saying. From like a legal perspective, no, we can't prove anything. But, I mean, it just seems unlikely.
Google?
It's either... I mean, there's a few options. It could either be direct sabotage, which, as much as it's fun to blame Google for things, I certainly have no proof of that. The next is that Google made changes with just, like, not telling other people.
The Google AdMob official Twitter account has said, we're aware of the fill rate issues for Windows Phone in AdMob. We're actively investigating and working to fix this. More details soon. Did they actually update? Because this is actually quite an old story. So, let's see. It doesn't look like they did.
Yeah, I mean... It's a big accusation to say that they've just straight up sabotaged Windows Phone.
They've claimed it's fixed. So, yes.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. It's a weird saga. We see this sometimes, though. Like, YouTube has changes, and obviously YouTube itself knows what's going on, and anything Google, within Google family knows what's going on, and so they get ready for the changes in advance. But then other, like, third-party apps, like maybe ClientTube or MetroTube or Tubecast or whatever, they have to update based on things that they didn't know about until they already happen. And so, I mean, I think there's a chance that there were just backdoor changes that no one was told about, and then you lose a bunch of money from ads.
Yeah. No, yeah,
it's still bad, even in the best case scenario.
Because if this was a an iPhone or an Android issue, they would have been on it like that, but it's taken them a few days to even think about it. So they did it, they fixed it eventually being the key word there, but developers lost out on cash, simple as.
Well, and developers, I mean, some make a lot of money, I guess. But a lot
depends on the app.
But a lot of them don't. And a lot of it's, ad revenue is their revenue. It's not, a lot of these apps are free, and then they come with ads. So 73% drops is a big deal.
It is. It's a very big deal.
I mean, can you imagine trying to pay your rent if for a week your revenue went down 73%?
Somehow my screen is playing the Windows 10 build again. Stop playing it. Go away.
I think that would be, if you lost 73% of your salary for a week, you couldn't, maybe, there'd be things you couldn't afford. And so these developers have to go through that.
Yeah.
We aren't doing a preview. Sorry, folks.
No. That was my mistake. It keeps happening. It keeps jumping to that tab, and I don't know why.
It really wants to do a build that got used to it last week.
Yeah. Oh well.
Do you think? Are people really claiming that this was intentional, or are they just mad at Google?
I mean, I imagine they jumped to that conclusion considering Google have been trying to sabotage Windows Phone for a long time now. But I think this was an actual issue this time that they fixed.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, maybe we'll find out later it was. I wouldn't be, shocked if they didn't, because they do other things to undermine Windows Phone. They don't let Google services come to Windows Phone. They regularly change their APIs, which makes YouTube apps not work. They're not friendly with Windows Phone. And I don't like a lot of the things they do. But just to say that they just hate a platform and are trying to ruin it, I don't want to get us in legal trouble,
No. Right then.
So that's a thing.
Sean, do you use Here Maps?
I use Bing Maps, which is powered by Here Maps, even though it doesn't always say that.
I don't use any, so...
Yeah, I mean, I don't drive. I don't have a car. So I use the bus a lot. And so...
Me too. Guess what? Did you know? I get in a London bus every day. If you've never seen a London bus, it's a big red moving thing. Sometimes got 2 floors.
Okay, that's what a bus is. It's a moving thing.
Yes, and I got on the bus the other day and I went to the top deck. I usually sit on the top deck if I'm going a long distance, and I sat down because there was no one on the top deck.
Hold on, is this open top deck or closed top deck?
No, it's closed top deck. Most
closed top deck, because some of them are open.
Yes, but they're more tourist buses than.
Okay, so this is commuter closed top deck.
Yes, this is more Londoner bus. People from London get on. I was getting on it, and I went. I sat down in front, and I looked up at because there's a little display telling you where the next stop is and whether the bus is stopping. And below it said, "Free Wi-Fi is on this bus." In all of my life, that's the first time I've ever gotten on a London bus and it's had Wi-Fi. Is this a new thing, or has this been around for ages? I'm so confused.
Well, in Nottingham, they have multiple bus companies. NCT is the government one. I don't know if they're owned by or somehow managed by the government. I think they're the official one. And then there's Trent Barton buses, which is Skylink and Indigo and some other ones. And a lot of them have Wi-Fi on their buses. And it's actually been... I was on a bus once going just uptown from my place to my girlfriend's place, and it was good enough Wi-Fi that I was streaming a sporting event over the Wi-Fi while the bus was driving.
Wow,
it was great. I love it. It's not on every bus, but I think it's a lot more common now. Is that really? You've never seen that in London?
Not on a London bus, no, never.
Huh.
It's very strange. It was on the new buses, the really curvy ones. They brought back the 3 doors and stuff. Before we really came off track with that Here Map story. Before we continue, someone asked, do you think Xbox games will be playable natively on Windows 10? Yes, but it's up to the developer. So if it's already an Xbox One game, such as Halo Collection or Call of Duty, or any game that you can play on the Xbox One today, that will be something you can stream. But developers will have the option to code for both Xbox One and Windows 10 natively, so you could technically have a native Xbox game on Windows 10 if the developer decides to put the time and effort into doing so. I believe the new Fable game, which is coming sometime in the future, will be one of the first games to have said feature and be able.
Well, they already showed that off they
showed it off in January.
And they talked about how on that, because what they've decided to do, online PC gamers will be able to play with online Xbox One gamers for that specific game.
Yep, exactly.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and the idea of a cross-platform game is not new. PC to Xbox. I think Shadowrun was one of the first Xbox 360 games to do it, but that game failed dramatically. So, yes. So eventually there will be native Xbox One games on PC, if you will, which would be great. I'd love to be able to have Halo on my PC, and then the Xbox playing a separate version of Halo for somebody else. Say, I don't know, a friend that could play the Halo there, and I could be playing Halo here, and that'd be great instead of streaming.
Especially some games really don't support local multiplayer the way they used to, right?
What do you mean? Well, it's
Can you?
screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, not all games do anymore.
Yeah. So I mean,
I know Halo and Call of Duty still do.
This be some sort of a workaround if you on your laptop or gaming computer could be playing Halo, and then your friend could be playing on a console, even if you're in the same house. It's like a LAN party, but really roundabout on 2 different devices.
Yeah.
Kinda, which is nice. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Right, anyway, back to here maps.
Somehow, speaking of maps, which we weren't, I take a bus, and sometimes when I'm on the bus, it's nice to check where I am because I'm not driving. I don't always know the visual cues, so I'll use Bing Maps for that. I had a church activity where they dropped us off a couple miles from the chapel, and then we had to find our way back as like a navigation thing. So I was the leader. One of the leaders, so in case we got lost, I had maps on my phone. So it's not something that you always use for me. When I was a delivery driver, it was something I used almost every day. And so yeah, Here Maps powers Bing Maps a lot, and there are rumors that Here Maps is going to be bought. Some of the major bidding people include Uber, which is like a ride-share service. For those unfamiliar with it, you'd say you want a Lyft. There are Uber drivers. They're like normal people, but they kind of act like taxi drivers, but they don't have cab licenses in most situations. And so Uber's really popular, but it's not legal everywhere, as far as I know. And then I don't know how to pronounce this, Baidu, which is a China-based search engine company. And then Apex Partners. Let's see here. So there's a few different companies involved, and they're looking at purchasing Here Maps just outright, I guess, or at least the majority. And so how does that relate to Microsoft? Well, if a company that didn't like Microsoft bought Here Maps and then didn't let Microsoft pay them to use it, they would have to completely revamp parts of their mapping section. So the rumor right now, and this is rumor, is that Microsoft is interested in a minority stake in Here Maps, which I would think the purpose of would be to protect themselves from exactly that, because then they could say we own part of the company, so obviously we're able to use Here Maps as a service. I really think that they should do this. I definitely think that Microsoft should be involved with Here Maps because it powers so many of their mapping services.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think they should go for the outright purchase, which could go upwards of $4 billion, a minority stake, or do you think they should try to do their own thing?
I'm not sure, because is Here Maps really popular?
Well, I don't think it's the name as much, though people do like it. I mean, people who know Here Maps are very positive of it. But I think it's just, I think there are sections of their maps that they just wouldn't have if Here Maps was removed from it. So, like, if Bing had a complete replacement, then who cares? But right now, I don't think they do.
I'm not sure. I don't think it'd make... If Google... I mean, if it was a built-in app, then yes, they would have to like buy it outright, I guess. But it's not really... It's more of an optional app, isn't it?
I guess it depends on your use.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't open up Here Maps, the application. I don't even have it on my phone. I used to because it was there, but I deleted it because I didn't want multiple. But if it powers parts of Bing Maps, then I would want my map to be complete. So I think that's where the minority stake comes in, where they'd pay just enough where they can say we still get to use it. And then if they build their own Bing Maps over time, then they could sell it and just say we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But at least for now, I think they need to be in it.
Yeah, you're right. They do.
Our comment section, they seem to have some. One of them states, Len says that it's the second largest mapping app. So, I mean, Here Maps is pretty big. Like I said, I don't think people always know the name, but if it powers it, then that's still important, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would definitely. I can't. Can you imagine people? They already criticize Windows Phone so much. Can you imagine if they didn't have a working map? Because there's no Google Maps on Windows Phone, and you can't use Apple Maps on Windows Phone. So if you didn't have Here powering Bing Maps, and then Bing Maps being the main thing, you wouldn't have a mapping application.
No, you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah. So I would definitely. I think minority stakes is a safe way to go. I don't think $4 billion is a ton of money to invest. I think they should do minority stuff.
Yeah. No.
Don't you? I think Uber should just buy it. I think they should. They'd love it because they use map stuff all the time. They're basically a cab service, except legally, they're not a cab service, which is why some places don't like them.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't think there's too much more news in the Here Maps front, is there?
No.
No. All right. You don't use maps? Like that's like not a thing for you?
I have used it every now and then. But
You're in London. Like, don't you ever get lost?
No, not really.
Huh.
If you just follow the maps that the bus people give you, you're usually fine.
All right, I guess. Well, okay. I have another app that I know you don't use. It's Snapchat.
Yes.
What's up with Snapchat?
They might be having a change of heart, which is surprising.
That actually genuinely is surprising.
Very much so. In a tweet sent to somebody who asked the Snapchat support Twitter about Windows Phone, one of their responses was, "There are plans to make it available in the future. We'll give details when that's close. Hope this helps." Now, I have an issue with this tweet. I doubt this was from the CEO of Snapchat tweeting that. This is probably from a PR person or a support engineer or someone who doesn't really have the lowdown on everything at Snapchat. So this is still a kind of empty hope, I guess. Sure,
who's the tweet from?
The Snapchat support, the official Snapchat support.
Well, it is official, doesn't it? That gives us some hope.
But you give us. You've got to remember that the support people aren't generally in the loop of upcoming plans. Like I frequently speak to Microsoft support, and they sometimes have no idea what's going on. I'm there telling them what is going on and how they can help me, but this could be a thing. Don't get me wrong, this could be a thing. Snapchat may handle their support differently from other companies in the sense that it's done by the actual engineers, and if that's the case, then hooray, they've changed. But they haven't really made an official announcement. Surely they would, because they've received so much hate for not having a Windows Phone app. If they were working on one, surely they would announce that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just hopeful. Like I said, I don't use Snapchat. I don't like Snapchat. I have no desire to download Snapchat, but it's one of those apps that young people like. And I mean, other people do as well, but a lot of young people like Snapchat, and they just wouldn't buy a phone without it. I mean, to some people, it would be like, could you have a phone that couldn't use Twitter? Not really. I mean, I don't think you could. I mean, you use Twitter all the time. And so if there was a phone out there that was great, but didn't have Twitter, you wouldn't buy it.
No.
And so I think there's a lot of young people like that with Snapchat. So that's why I'm excited when I hear this sort of thing. I honestly, this is a perfect example of an app that if they don't want to fully support, should just port.
Tell you what, yeah, I think if this is an actual thing, I think that's what they're referring to, because they said it's coming in the future. So
which means that Windows 10.
I guess maybe that's why they haven't made the announcement yet, because they're waiting for the ability to do so they can actually just go, right, we'll take Android, throw it on Windows, we're done with it, leave it and whatnot. Because that's just what developers will do. At first, if they really want to support Windows Phone at the very early stage, they will just rip the Android code they already have, throw it onto Windows Phone, and be done with it.
Yeah, I think that Snapchat, and there are a couple of people asking what Snapchat is. If you're unaware of what Snapchat is, they're I guess you'd say somewhat of a picture.
It's like Twitter, but for photos.
I guess, but not in an Instagram way. They're self-deleting photos. So
some of them are.
Okay, and then there's story feeds, so you can follow people, and then you get lots of photos. And then there's like the more kind of goofy, just sending little photos back and forth.
Yeah, and they're the ones you can time. So say if you want to send a picture of something really confidential, which is why you use Snapchat for that. But if you could do, and then you can make the
Windows 10 release dates.
Yeah, you can make, which I've sent over Snapchat. I'm joking. Which you can set a timer of up to 10 seconds. So. I mean, it's great for those of you who like to take nudes.
Zach, this is a family show.
Nobody knows what nudes means.
No, who knows what those are. In any event, so Snapchat's pretty popular. Like I said, especially young people like Snapchat.
That's because they use it for nudes.
To be honest, I think that's a very common use for it. Like I said, what's the wholesome, worthy reason to use a self-deleting photo?
Exactly, unless you're doing some dodgy stuff. There's no real need.
Yeah. Snapchat, if they come, I'm happy. This is one of those things, do you need a desktop app for Snapchat? I suppose I can admit that if people were at work, they would probably enjoy sending goofy photos to and from each other while they're at the desk.
If there was a desktop Snapchat app, me and you could send stupid photos to each other whilst we were working.
We really could. We could see like and you make funny faces and like all sorts of things and like a picture of like me with like Doritos like cheese. I'm like, oh look, it's cheese. But then 10 seconds later, you couldn't.
It's gone.
Except if you screenshotted it by pressing 2 buttons.
And then the other person, and then it alerts the other person that they screenshotted it, and that's how you fall out as friends.
Oh, really? It does that?
Yes, it does.
Why don't they just disable screenshotting?
Because they can't do that. That's a hard.
Really?
That's an operating system thing. So what they can do is they can alert the other user that it has been screenshotted or screen taken.
Well, I have to admit, if you're going to be using Snapchat, that's actually a good feature. That's a good thing to add.
So if you want to fall out with someone, use Snapchat. Tell them to send you a picture of something really close to their heart on a timer, and then take a screenshot. Because then it'll tell them. Then they'll be like, "Why did you take a screenshot for? Delete it." And you'll be like, "No."
This sounds like a real like only way to Essex problem or educating Essex. Is that
it? Made in Chelsea.
Yeah, I just all sorts of. I mean, whatever. Like I said, it helps the platform. If there are apps that aren't on Windows Phone, people won't buy it. I don't know if everybody cares about every app, but like I said, I couldn't use a phone without Twitter. And so some people are like that with Snapchat, and that's fine. That's their thing. They're not going to jump over to Skype quick because their friends aren't on it. So there's that.
So not really that great, really. We haven't really seen a Snapchat app for Windows Phone yet. They've not really made an official announcement. Just their support team said, "Hey, there's one coming in the future."
The fact that they didn't. They tweeted that out, but they didn't use Rudy Huen's code when he offered it is evidence to me that either A, it's what you said, this support person doesn't know what they're talking about, or B, they're just going to be doing a port. Because if they were going to be doing a native Windows app, then they'd be working with Rudy, who already knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I think they're just going to rip out the code they already have on Android, because they have an Android app, and just throw it on Windows Phone.
To respond to our comment stream, who's also pointed out that we don't respond enough to them during the live. I'm sorry. We will do a much better job at this. I don't think you're old if you don't see the point of Snapchat. I think a lot of people just don't see the point of Snapchat for their own lives. Like I said, I don't know a wholesome reason for self-deleting photos. Like I can't think of a good reason I would need a photo that deletes in 10 seconds that isn't somehow shady.
That's the whole point. It is shady.
Yeah, and so, I don't think you're old. I just think you don't send people photos that you would need to be deleted. And if I'm sending photos that I consider private to someone, I trust the person I'm sending them to not share them with people they shouldn't. And so I think that's where a lot of people are in my vote with Snapchat. They just don't see the need for it.
Yeah, no, me neither. I mean, I wouldn't use Snapchat. I don't have a reason for it. I don't even use Instagram. I have an Instagram account. I don't use it.
Let me tell you a story about Instagram. I took a photo. Well, let me ask you this. Do you have like followers on Instagram?
Barely. I have many people wanting to follow me, but I don't know these people in real life, so I haven't allowed them. The Instagram is for personal things.
Okay.
You know, private life.
I'll try to follow you. We'll see. I don't use Instagram. I have an account from like a year or two ago.
Yeah, I don't use it either.
But for a story, I needed to test like an Instagram feature. Mm-hmm. I literally took a photo of my door of the apartment that I've been living in since September, and it just said like "door to my house," and it got like multiple favorites in like less than a minute. And I'm just.
People love it. Give them
like
more.
the standard of like on Facebook. Sometimes you write like a really heartfelt post, or like on WinBeta, I write these articles. And I'm like, oh, I really care about this story, and then it gets like one comment, and I'm like, oh, I really cared about that story. And then on Instagram, it's like, boop, it's a door, and people are like, I love doors.
No, people are ridiculous. Like, have you seen those statuses, the statuses on Facebook in which people are like, "Oh, my life sucks," and then like 50, 100 likes, and then another person on Facebook goes, "Just got into university, worked really hard all my life," 2 likes.
I found that any Facebook post I have that includes my girlfriend in it gets way more likes because her friends and my friends see it, and then people like her a lot, and I guess they just I'm just nearby.
It's common. The guy is usually less favorable in the.
And so, like, if it's like Leah and I went to Niagara Falls, it'd be like, oh, bam, bam, like. If it was like I'm at Niagara Falls, it's like, okay, like you're by a waterfall.
Because you can hide people. Just go up to the arrow. I don't want to see this. I've done it to so many people.
That's like the I want to be your friend, but don't want to see anything from you, which basically means I don't want to be your friend, but I don't want you to know that I don't want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Which is basically what that is.
It is.
So, yeah, social media. There you go. It was so funny. I just really couldn't believe how many favorites I got for a door. I think they thought I moved.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that would be like, oh, you're in a new house, I guess. But, like, I didn't say that. They just kind of assumed. But in any event, so comment section. Do you use Snapchat for anything other than shady stuff? Can you tell me a wholesome reason for Snapchat? I will on the next week podcast talk about it because we need to move on.
Guess what? Just before we move on, I've now received many more requests on Instagram to be followed. Guess who?
What, did they all find you like in the last 10 seconds?
Yes. James wants to follow me on Instagram.
Which James? We have many.
Sidorus? Is it? I don't think he's in the chat today. No, nobody's allowed to. I'm not allowing anybody that I don't know to follow me on Instagram. I don't use it anyway. I have how many uploads? Let's see. I have 11 uploads, and they're all of like 2 of them aren't even me. 3 of them aren't even me.
To answer what this has to do with the podcast, this is a bit of a tangent from just social media in general. We were talking about Snapchat. Might be getting a Windows Phone app in the future. Back onto the
life of Windows. Microsoft announced the upgrade paths of Windows 10 and whatnot, so those who are running older versions of Windows can actually have a concrete answer to when they say, what will I get when I upgrade to Windows 10?
What will I get when I upgrade to Windows 10? Zach?
Well, Sean, depending on what operating system you're currently running, if you're running Windows 8 and Windows 8.1, or Windows 7 Home Basic and Home Premium, you will get a free upgrade to Windows 10 Home. If you are a Windows 8 or an 8.1 Pro user, or a Windows 7 Professional and Ultimate user, you will get an upgrade to Windows 10 Pro. This is pretty much what I said last week, but they've just finally confirmed what I said.
So these are just answering the who gets which edition.
Yes, and they've also announced other stuff as well, which we'll talk about in a second. If upgraded within the first 12 months following launch, the device will receive ongoing Windows 10 updates for free for the life of that device. This excludes Windows Enterprise and RT devices, however, so they've still got to announce what's going on with Windows RT. The free Windows 10 upgrade is delivered through Windows Update, so just like a normal update through Windows Update, Windows 7 and Windows 8 users, you just check for updates. I believe it'll be an optional update. Install it and then reboot your PC. You'll be on Windows 10. Painless and simple.
So wait a sec, Zach. Does that mean that there's going to be some user who hasn't been following WinBeta, so doesn't know anything about Windows 10, and they're just going to wake up and the computer's going to be update and restart, and it's going to have a start menu, and Cortana's going to be popping up out of the corner, and their apps will be opening as windows, and they'll think it's a problem because it's not full screen?
Well, here's the thing. Up towards the actual launch of Windows 10, I believe Microsoft pushed out an update already, which prepares the operating system, and closer to the time of launch, will start advertising to the user that Windows 10 is coming, and with little pop-ups and stuff, so that you can learn more.
Good.
And I guess from there you could, I guess from there you'd be able to choose whether you want the update or not to have the update. Because I know it'll be an optional update. They're not going to force Windows 10 onto users. I
just have this image of like that old lady in the meme with her glasses looking at a computer, and it'll be like, "What's this thing on my screen?"
They also announced. They further detailed the additions of Windows 10 and how the upgrade works. So Windows 10 Home for consumers and bring your own device scenarios available under the free upgrade. Windows 10 Pro for small and lower mid-sized businesses available under the free upgrade. Windows 10 Enterprise for mid and large-sized enterprises available under volume licensing, which is not a consumer thing, so you don't need to worry about that. A Windows 10 Education designed to meet the needs for schools, teachers, students, staff, and administrators available under volume licensing again. Windows 10 Mobile for consumer, small, mid-sized, and large enterprises and academic institutions available under OEM, meaning just the device you buy. It will come with it. Windows 10 Mobile Enterprise for mid-size and large enterprises with IoT scenarios available under OEM, IoT, and volume licensing. So those last few points were just complete enterprise-related stuff, nothing to do with consumers. So nothing for you lot to worry about. I doubt any enterprise people are following us right now.
Could be.
If you are, then there you go. But I don't think you will be.
Like I said, they probably already know. If you're enterprise, you probably know what's up.
Yes.
I have a question. It's kind of inspired by the comment section here. Do you really think after 12 months they'll start charging people to upgrade? Or do you think it'll just be like every new device will have the cost of Windows 10 built into it, and then they'll let all old devices upgrade?
That's how it would be straight away. The free upgrade isn't for OEMs. It's for consumers.
Right. That's what I mean. So I'm saying, do you really think consumers... Do you think they'll actually stick through to their word? And if it's like 13 months after the release of Windows 10, that consumers will have to pay to upgrade? Or do you think they'll extend
they will. Well, I mean, when Windows 8 came out, there was a free upgrade for a year, or however long, for Windows 7 users. And then they did start charging afterwards. They didn't keep it going. So regardless of how bad Windows 8 was doing at the time, they still started charging.
Okay.
So yeah, I think they will start charging for Windows 10, and yes, they will start charging. And when they mean charge, they mean buying off the shelf. So you can upgrades after a year will also be charged, but OEMs from the get-go, when the Windows 10 launch, will have to pay Microsoft to put Windows 10 on their device.
Right, yeah, and that's
so that's
already
not really a consumer issue.
No. This just updating your computer. I was just wondering if they'd stick through it or extend it, but you said with Windows 8. They didn't extend, so they probably won't do
with
that.
Windows 8, which was doing terribly at the time, I'm really white, if you noticed, on my camera. Windows 8 was doing terribly at the time, and they still pushed and went Windows 10. Windows 8 is now... actually, was Windows 8 free, or was it very cheap? I think it might have been extremely cheap.
I think it was really cheap.
It was free for those who had bought a Windows 7 PC within the last however months.
Okay.
It was very cheap when it first came out for everybody. That's it.
No.
But regardless, they still up the price to the normal prices. So I think they will for Windows 10, especially if it takes off, because then it's more money for them.
Do you think that they're sending out almost too much information to people so it confused them, even though in reality it's fairly simple?
No, I don't think so. More information is always good, unless they miscommunicate, which they've done a fair bit recently.
Because in reality, it's just you're going to upgrade your computer. If you do it within 12 months, you're fine. And everything else will only affect like enterprise and OEMs. Yeah.
Someone says, will the Windows Phone Windows 10 update be free after 1 year? I imagine so. I believe they said in a list they published that it wouldn't be, but I don't believe that's the thing. I think that was an oversight. So yeah, I think it'll be free after a year.
Can I ask you some questions about installing Windows 10, because I've just never done it before on a computer?
Yes.
What if I don't have a ton of memory left? Do I need a ton of free space?
You will need free space, yes. You don't need that much.
Like,
I think...
How many gigs?
I don't know.
Like 30 or like 10?
You can have 10 will get you by, I think.
Okay. So that's what I'm worried, because some of these people, like including myself, I'm more of an end user. It needs to be simple, and so I think that I'm just curious, because a lot of these things are going to be update your phone, update this. You need some space. It's pretty simple, but as long as you can just click update and restart and it shows up.
Yeah, the majority of users should be fine. I mean, if you try to update on a low end 32 gigabyte tablet, then you may start having a few issues depending on how full your tablet is. But other than that, you should be fine.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Yeah. So yes, I believe that is the podcast all done and dusted for this week. That's pretty much all the stories. Not really anything else happened. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I'll just close this out. This has been the podcast for the week of May 22nd, 2015. The WinBeta podcast comes to you every week live on YouTube at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Is that what EDT stands for?
I imagine.
And then we put up the rebroadcast for the audio and video on SoundCloud and YouTube the next day. You can listen just to the audio on anything like the podcast app on Microsoft, iTunes, TuneIn. You can watch us on YouTube for the rebroadcast with video. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we do broadcast live, so you can stick around. We will stick around after the show to answer questions. We try to answer questions when they're on topic during the podcast itself, but if not, we always stick around to answer them for a while afterward and just chit chat. So I am one of your hosts, Sean Michael. You can find me at Twitter at Sean_Michael_UK. And the other host is Zach. And you can find him on Twitter. Where can they find you? There you go. And you can always find WinBeta on Twitter at WinBeta.org. So it's winbeta.org, but because you can't use periods, they had to spell out dot. Yeah, so check out WinBeta for all the latest news.
Just realised my microphone was muted as I said my Twitter handle.
He's at Zach B.
There's going to be just a moment of silence as in the edit, but it was at Zach B. _.
And then, yeah, you follow us on the podcast for your latest news with entertainment and WinBeta as well. So we will see you again on the next one.
I'm checking what this is. Right, look at this one. Hang on. Which one is it? It's scene 6. Look at that.
What are you showing?
I'm tweeting that one. Oh man, that's perfect. I like it. Thanks, guys. That's my new Twitter profile picture, I think.